Hello, Henry Loengard again with my single key auto harp, which is kind of like a diatonic except that it's not diatonic. The string schedule is still chromatic. This device here was something that was like $5 at a yard sale. It's actually quite tough. Very nice it's sort of like the airline models that were sold at Sears and other places like that. So it has 12 chords, and normally those 12 chords are spread among the circle of fifths a little bit with a few minors, and it's not bad. But I kind of like staying in one key and then having a lot of passing chords to get next to the key. So instead of being completely diatonic, which wouldn't have those accidentals, this is more or less chromatic. It only ignores one of the accidental notes. So that means it can play the usual oh yeah, the other thing I did here is I put it in the key of F. And as you know, on a normal string schedule, there are 4 Fs in the auto harp. And the one on the bottom is the one you hear the least because it is the lowest note and it usually gets drowned out by everything else. So I replaced that with one that is an octave higher. And I'll probably replace it with one that's 2 octaves higher. It has to be an extra skinny string, but I've played with those before. But I like this. This is not a bad addition. And that means in all the chords that are here, which I've slightly reconfigured, they have that bottom F in it. Oh, by the way, if you're perfect pitch, you'll realize this is actually tuned in E. I tuned it down a little just to turn the pressure down a little bit on this device. It sounds really good. It gives it a little more twanginess, very tiny bit more. I think that it's a little more stable if it's down by a semitone. But at any rate, so here are my 12 notes, and I can hold it up to the camera here. Oop, my 12 chords. Which way do I hold this? What is this crazy thing? So you can see they are rearranged a little bit. I might move those labels. I don't even read those labels, so I don't even care that they look so bad. But basically, the normal diatonic chords, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the 7 isn't used so much. Although, who knows? Maybe someday you'll write a nice tune in Locrian, which is sort of like Blue Jay Way. And a few other tunes do use it, but nevertheless, that's pretty ignored. However, if you have that button and you don't use that, you can use that as the 5 chord for the relative minor. So let's see what I'm talking about here. So here's a 1. Now this is in my chord order too. So the way it works is my diatonic chords go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In this case, it's not a real 7, but it's sort of a 7. So that's... So those are useful. I put the suspended 5 here because that's a pretty straightforward progression to go 1. And I put, here we have the 5. Next to it is normally a 2-7. And I go even further. Here's the 1. And here's the 1-7. Because this happens a lot. And then we have this diminished fellow, which is very useful. And then you remember we have this minor here. And you want to approach the minor also from the other side. So those are really useful and interesting chords. So I can go. So a lot of those like pop tune transitions, which use leading tones to get into the next chord, and yet they're related, are there. And, you know, it's a little bit chromatic, as I said. It's completely chromatic if you feel like picking it. But nevertheless, the chords are really good. And you can even do this kind of stuff. So if you can miserloo out there, if you have a nice drummer or bassist to back you up. And, you know, just this guy here just adds so much more to the straightforward. Very good. Some of these felts are really beat up because this is a pretty old autoharp. I don't know if you can see it on the tail end here. Look at those notches. They're huge. So I'm slowly going through here and actually ripping the notches out or carving them off and replacing the missing black felt. The black felt is actually quite good. It's just that, you know, it's 50 years old, so it has a lot of notches in it. So I'm replacing it with neoprene. In fact, the fuzzy neoprene that is used sort of for the other side of Velcro. And I've got a nice roll of that stuff. And we'll be cutting it up lots more to do the replacements in here. For the ones that I have replaced as an experiment, I'm very satisfied with it. You just cut the notches off so that it leaves about 1/8 of an inch, or, you know, about 5 millimeters of felt that is still not notched, and then I throw these on top with some good old Duco cement, and it dries up nice and it damps beautifully. And because this is neoprene, it's probably not going to notch ever. So that's sort of my way to go. I want to make a set of chord bars that are even more neoprene friendly. It might be that I don't even need that extra felt push on it, and they could be closer to the strings. Use those regulation screws like I have on that other autoharp that I have. And, you know, continue with the experiments in the technology. So that's my little lecture. Those are good chords to hold. I mean, I can pretend I can tell you what they are. We've got an F, G minor, A minor, B flat major, C seventh, D minor, A seventh, as opposed to A diminished seventh. Or rather, here's an E seventh, here's an F seventh, here's a B flat. B flat? That shouldn't be a B flat suspended. That should be like a, I don't know what that should be. That should be like a C suspended. What is this? What is this? Yep, that's what it is. Mislabeled. And then this is the, I guess, E diminished. Or it's not really the E diminished. I have to think my brain over here. This would be a D flat, D minor. So it would be, yeah, kind of a E diminished. I don't know. It's the diminished. The diminished from the minor, not the relative minor of F. So I think that would be E. Anyway, nice chords. Great to have. Not diatonic, though, because diatonic, that would, you know, it would limit me too much. There would be a lot of suspendeds, a couple of heavy fifths, but this is a very useful chord setup. Just saying. And if you only have 12, this also leaves a lot of room over here. You know, this is up here, plucking. To get that high note, you're really stretching. Over here, you're not. But the other problem with this is because it's so close to the bridge and it's not so, you know, you're plucking the high harmonics of these strings, so it sounds a lot more tooth jangly than the mellower sounds of these middle strings here. So that could be a whole other experiment, which is, you know, rearranging it so that it's more like a pig nose or hog nose dulcimer, which aligns all the strings to the middle, and then you would put the damping on the side with chords that are on a diagonal, and that would probably give you a really mellow middle, and I don't know, something to think about. as I start thinking more about the timbres you can get out of this. And I'm thinking about, guzlas too. Guzlas, very interesting, almost autoharp-like instrument. But I'm not going to talk about that here. Anyway, that's all for now. See ya. Bye.